So Crime 101, right? You got Chris Hemsworth as a thief. You have Mark Ruffalo as a cop again. You have Halle Berry as a broker. And then you have Mr. Devlin from Fred 2. Yeah, count me in. Alright, so Crime 101 is a movie where Chris Hemsworth is a thief on the 101 freeway. And Mark Ruffalo is a cop trying to figure out who keeps doing all these crimes on the 101 freeway. And the thing with Chris is he never leaves evidence, right? He does it clean, quick, precise. He doesn't hurt anybody, and so it's hard to track him. But one slip up leads to Mark Ruffalo catching on, and then from there it becomes basically a colliding path to the big heist. And guys, this movie is stacked. You know, when I was looking at the casting, man, you have, like I said, Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, Halle Berry. You have Roderick from Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Like I said, Mr. Devlin, the GOAT himself. That's right. But there's also a bunch of smaller characters. You know, Monica Barbera, she has a role in here, a love interest with Chris, his character. And there's just a lot of characters in here that I didn't think would show up. And the director of this movie is Bart Layton, if you've heard of him, maybe. I mean, you might know some of his work. And the movie is 2 hours and 19 minutes long. And right now the reviews are saying it's an 87 on Rotten Tomatoes and a 7.1 on IMDb. So critics, they're kind of liking this movie. And guys, I'm not gonna lie, this movie kind of hooked me in, right? The beginning was a little slow in my opinion. I was like, all right, what do we got here? But when you're watching it, the first crime, the first robbery that Chris does at the beginning, because that's how the movie starts. It starts with the robbery of Chris. And you're kind of like waiting to see what happens. But then it kind of gets interesting, and you see what he does and how he does stuff. And then from there, it transitions to Mark Ruffalo and how he has to now solve this case, right? They put him on the case of the robbery. And so their paths basically start going towards each other. And that's the best part about this movie, is just how everything starts connecting, how Mark's starting to piece together the scenes and how the suspense starts to build. You know, Chris gets more anxious, and so the stakes start to get a little higher, and as things come together, you're starting to see how it's piecing itself together, especially like towards the end where there's a scene in the car. It reminds me of Spider-Man Homecoming with the Vulture and Spider-Man, and that scene, you could see like the tension start building, and I'm not gonna lie, I started to lean up in my seat towards the end. I wanted to see how this movie ended. It's starting to get good, and just the other characters that they had in here, their roles, that's the best part about this movie, and just the story, how it plays, and just this thief trying to complete one last heist without getting caught. And like I said, the suspense and stuff throughout the movie, I was sitting there like, man, what's gonna happen? Eat my nachos. But I mean, besides the story and the suspense and the characters in here, I don't know, this movie might be considered like a rent movie. Like, this was one I could easily see a lot of people streaming it and it becoming successful when it comes to streaming. And with that, I can see this movie also being like kind of boring or lazy to some people. Like, the story just takes forever, you're just kind of bored or can't get invested into. I can see that as well, right? This movie is long, and I think that's the major problem with it, is like almost 2.5 hours, and I think they could have cut some scenes out or at least trimmed some stuff down to make it a little shorter. Because while I was enjoying it, I was also kind of like trying to get comfortable and whatnot, because when you're in a movie for that long, I mean, that's a long time. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that's a long time for any movie. And I mean, that's really just the movie, right? The best parts about it are the story, how they're trying to set up Mark, how Chris is trying to get free, and then you have Halle Berry's situation, and then Monica Barbera, and then you have the other thief. All of it combining with the suspense, I think, makes this movie pretty enjoyable, guys. And if I had to give this a rank, I'd give this a Piston Cup. You know, I really enjoyed this movie. I wasn't expecting a lot, came out liking it. I can see a lot of people might not like this, maybe they'll call it generic or whatnot, but for me, I liked it, sitting there by myself, eating my hot dog and nachos. But I liked it, right? I liked it. And so, guys, those are my thoughts. Comment below if you've seen this, what your thoughts are. Did you like the ending? Did you like this movie? And yeah, with that being said, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.